Hey, good morning, Black Oak family. Ryan Ledden, president of Black Oak Asset Management, coming to you with another weekly edition of Breakfast with Black Oak. I want to welcome everyone again. I am one of the advisors here at Black Oak Asset Management. And again, you may work with one of our other advisors, Autumn, Nick, Parnick, or Damon. Again, all the same team here. Got to address that every single time because I still get responses from people wondering who I am, and you may work with one of our other advisors. So anyway, have my new mantra shirt on. Nobody cares, just work harder. Excuses. I love wearing this around the house. This is like my kids are like, okay, I got it, Dad. I got it, Dad. But it's so true. And it comes, I wish I came up with the slogan, but it comes from a book called Endure. Highly recommend. Cameron Haynes is the author of that book. It is awesome. Anyway, so it is like a kind of a good motivating type book and kind of punch in the gut at the same time. You think you're working hard, you're really not, compared to what what he has gone through and what goes through. So anyway, so I love the shirt. I saw it after I read the book and saw, of course, social Facebook and all that recognizes what you're reading and what you talk about, and so this started popping up from his website. Hey, so it worked. So I bought it. Anyway, so you see the headline, the stock market and election years. This is probably one of the most common questions I get right now. What happens? What can we expect during election years? And there's tons of articles. And Damon sent me one, and Nick, when I was asking for, hey, any suggestions on what you guys want to talk about on Breakfast with Black Oak this week? And Nick sent me one that was election 2024, how stocks perform in election years. Okay, that's a good article. And then Damon sent me one, how presidential elections affect the stock market. So obviously, basically the same title ish, different viewpoints, different statistics. So yeah, I mean, both of them. One is U.S. News article, and one is U.S. Bank Wealth Management. So very, reliable sources of where they get their stats and figures from. And so they have a ton in each one. Here's a couple of the snippets from the U.S. News article. It says the S&P has averaged 7% during election year since 1952. So you're like, oh, well, that's a long time ago. It's only 17 election cycles. So it's not that much data. So it's done 7%, which some people are like, okay, I'll take 7%. However, the S&P since inception has, and again, every you see different statistics on this, but as many sources I've found, it's somewhere between 10 and 11% historically that it's averaged. So you can say, well, the S&P 500 has underperformed during election years, which, based off these stats, I guess is true. So there's stats galore in both of these, and they all kind of do different time frames of stats. One, I believe the U.S. Bank Wealth Management article talks about, afterwards, what happens after an election. U.S. News is more based throughout the year of an election. So the main point, and this may surprise you or may not surprise you, the main point of this is there's very little correlation whatsoever. So do not let these election headlines affect what you do from a long-term perspective and what you're doing currently. We don't need to make knee-jerk reactions. And you've heard this from me before. And if you're new to listening to these and tuning in, you'll hear the same thing. Again, it goes back to so many different things throughout the years. It just happens to be an election year. So really the correlation between election years and how the stock market is doing really is more based off what's going on in the economy and what's going on with inflation versus what the presidential election has. Those two sides going back and forth and mudslinging one another. It's noise. It really is. So don't make any crazy decisions. Obviously, that's why we're here to coach you through these times. Is to consistently invest and continue doing what you're doing. If you are in retirement and pooling assets, there's always adjustments to be made because it's reverse engineering that you've been doing your entire life as you're putting money in. So the main point I want you to get from this is obviously you want to stay in tune with what's going on with the election, but it really has no effect on what is in your portfolio because everyone's portfolio is different. You're trying to accomplish different things. Your goals are different. Your timeline is different. Your risk tolerance is different. It's all personalized. So what is going on in the world economy is not going on necessarily in your economy. Does it affect what goes on in your account balances? Sure, but it's not directly affected by what these primaries, what's going through there. What are these people saying about each other in these primaries, and who's winning this, and what nonsense is Joe Biden talking about? I mean, it's just it never changes. So again, stay consistent. The election years, there's no consistency. You can look at history, but it has zero effect on what happens moving forward. Zero. We can look at history. I like looking at history and seeing what happens, but there's so many other things going on that affects the stock market returns, um, especially this year. Every election year is original. It's not necessarily different, but it's original, what we're going through. So stay the course. Keep doing what you're doing. Love everybody out there. Again, welcome. If you're new to these, we try to do these every single Friday, and it usually hits your inbox on a Friday morning. I'm recording this on a Thursday. It usually hits your inbox on Friday morning around 7 o'clock every single time, 7:30. So again, tune in. Hopefully this is helpful. Again, reach out, join our Facebook group. It's only for clients only. It is amazing how many random people I get who try to get into our Facebook group. I'm like, what's going on in your life where you're trying to get into a private Facebook group and sell your stuff? One person has gotten through, and I saw that they solicited something about cleaning or something, and we immediately took them out. I don't know how they got in, but anyway, because I got to screen them, so obviously it was my fault, I guess you could say. But somehow they got in. I get people all the time trying to get in. So anyway, if somebody gets through, sorry, but it's only been one in the last couple of years. So join our Facebook group, stay tuned there, and we'll see everybody soon. Thanks so much.